Hey there everybody, I'm Cosmo the Coder and welcome to my Humble Bundle review for this week. This week we are looking at the Humble Bandai Namco Entertainment Bundle 2, which actually contains quite an eclectic kind of mixture of games. So without further ado, let's have a look and see what we have. First up we have in the white here, pay what you want for 3 games. The first game is Pac-Man 256 or 256. This is basically a sort of a mobile game sort of brought to console and PC, but don't let that put you off because it's actually a pretty damn good game. It's sort of what would happen if Pac-Man was crossed with Crossy Road, if you've ever played that, where it's basically a casual sort of action arcade game where you basically play as Pac-Man, having to traverse sort of different graphical styles of sort of a maze and collecting the obvious little pills and avoiding ghosts where and when, and eating the ghosts where possible. Using a variety of different power-ups and everything to survive. And you basically have to keep moving forward to avoid something called the glitch, which is kind of a sort of tidal wave of odd characters that's coming to get you. Fairly cheap on Steam, £4 or about $5. Good reviews, 90% recently and 93% overall. My kids love playing this game. It's a good game to play co-op too, because you can actually play up to 4 different players. So I mean, if my almost 2-year-old can play it relatively well, he doesn't have a clue what's going on, but he can actually play it quite well. So he actually enjoys watching it and playing quite nicely. So definitely a game to sort of just pick up if you're into sort of casual sort of games that you want to just pick up and play for 10 minutes. Next up we have Ace Combat Assault Horizon, the enhanced edition. Now the enhanced part basically comes down with the graphics, in that you can basically run it at 1200p, so sort of slightly beyond HD, but beyond that it's basically sort of Call of Duty but with helicopters and aeroplanes and all kinds of things like that. It's £10 currently on Steam, or $20. Review wise, it's not great, 66% recently and 61% overall, 77% on Metacritic. It's basically a flight simulation game, sort of made very Call of Duty-esque, where you have to fly around, blow everything up, shoot all kinds of things in a sort of a sort of drama-based story mission-esque sort of single-player campaign thing. It does have a multiplayer aspect where you basically run and fight other players. And it's sort of set in the sort of Ace Combat Ace Combat sort of universe, which is kind of why it's got some bad reviews, because people don't like it. The fact that it sort of westernizes it. It's apparently sort of very popular and sort of it has a very sort of popular-esque sort of following, and this sort of version of it is quite. I'm trying to think of the right sort of term for it. It's basically hasn't got quite the same depth as people would want it to have. The story's quite boring apparently, and it's very samey. It's just not received quite as good reviews as it could have done. So maybe if you're into flight simulators, try it. If not, maybe avoid it. Next up we have a game that is basically a third-person sort of, not a shooter, third-person sort of platformer. It's called Enslaved Odyssey to the West, the premium edition. It's currently £15 on Steam, or $20. It's basically set in a post-apocalyptic world where war and destruction have sort of destroyed the planet and have left it to nature sort of to overgrow and sort of take over. You play as a guy called Monkey. No, I'm not making this up. Monkey is basically a strong, brutish loner who actually becomes enslaved by a character called Trip, who is actually a techno-savvy female trying to escape a slave ship. So she actually uses a slave band to enslave poor Monkey and use him to escape from the ship. It's essentially a retelling of a 400-year-old story called Journey to the West. Now, this edition includes some enhanced graphics, but also includes DLC that came out shortly after the game was first released back on the consoles. It's got good reviews, 85% recently, 86% overall, and 70% on Metacritic. In general, it's a pretty good game. It's basically sort of set during the sort of period where sort of not necessarily sandbox platforms were becoming popular, but sort of more sort of, if you played like Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, where you sort of understand sort of there's arenas and you have to sort of do certain platforming and move in certain ways, you'll understand what I mean if you actually play it. So it's definitely a good game by all means. It's got a great, interesting story. The ending can be a bit upsetting to some people because it's not very good, but in general, the sort of theme and the sort of general feeling of the game is pretty good. There you are, I've said the word good quite a lot there, so I'm going to move on. Right, the green tier, which currently sits about $7.50 or about £6. For 3 games and the extension, which will be out next week. First up, we have a game called Warhammer: The Eternal Crusade, which is actually pretty much the most expensive game in the actual bundle. It's £40 if you actually believe it, or $50. Now, I haven't actually written much about this because there's not much I can really say about it. It's basically a multiplayer third-person shooter set in the Warhammer 40k universe, where you basically pick a side, a clan or a sort of a faction, if you want to call it, as well as a class of person, and basically take on various missions and various sort of, I suppose, tasks in terms of fighting enemies and other people in a planet. In general, it's basically a third-person sort of multiplayer-esque shooter, which I can't really say much more than that. It's not got great reviews, let's put it this straightforward. It's got 54% recently and 58% overall on Steam. The main reason for this is basically it's rather unbalanced. There's not many people playing, and in general, it's just not doing very well. In sort of respect of that. So in a sense, it looks fairly good, but it just apparently doesn't play very well, and people are not very happy about it at all, based on the reviews anyway. Moving on to Project Cars. Now, Project Cars was actually in the Humble Monthly last month, so to see it in this is interesting, I have to say. It's currently $23.39 on Steam, in pounds, sorry, or $30. It's basically sort of a realistic driving simulation game where you race a collection of cars around a series of tracks. Some are real tracks and some are sort of invented tracks for around the world. Basically, if you enjoy it, sort of car simulation games, you'll enjoy this. It's not really one that you can sort of go around and customize. You can't sort of change the engine or change the tires or anything. You're basically locked to driving a certain car with certain specifications. Fairly good reviews. Where have I gone? There we are. 71% recently, 76% overall, and 83% on Metacritic. So if you're definitely into racing games, by all means check it out. Now, this is a title that I'm going to attempt. Here goes. Naruto Shippuden Ultima Ninja Storm 3 Full Burst. This is basically based on a manga and possibly an anime. I'm not 100% sure exactly, but basically it's basically an anime action game, action and fighting game, I should say, based off the manga, where you basically fight a whole host of different sort of bosses and enemies using various combos and sort of quick time events, and sort of an epic manga sort of anime style that you're probably used to if you actually know anything about sort of manga or anything else like that. It's currently £20 on Steam or $30. Fantastic reviews, 93% recently and 91% overall. It's difficult for me to sort of give you more information than I already have, because essentially it's one of those games it's designed to be one of these sort of truly epic sort of fighting games where you have to take on various sort of enemies and bosses and use various powers and various sort of, all kinds of various sort of special moves and everything like that. So it's a game that you sort of have to be sort of either interested in the manga or just interested in the sort of genre, I think, more than anything. Now, like I said, there is an extension next week, so that basically means that I will not be giving this bundle a score until next week, so that's something to wait for. But moving on, then we'll go to the blue tier, or at least the first blue tier, which is $15, will get you the previous lot of games and these and 2 more, which is the first off is Tales of Zestiria. I hope I'm saying that right. Is pretty much is the same price as the Warhammer game. It's £40 on Steam or $50. It's essentially a JRPG game, an anime JRPG. I've written here, with a very rich sort of storyline. You're basically in a world torn by war and political skirmishes, and you have to accept the burden of being the shepherd. Sound very Mass Effect-y. But you basically have to fight the human darkness and protect your world from a sort of malevolence. I can never say that right. And reunite the humans and the seraphim. No, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it looks pretty cool in the video. It basically is, like most things, a sort of typical JRPG full of sort of magic and strange and wonderful characters. It looks quite cool. If you're into RPGs and this kind of thing, definitely sort of recommend it. The reviews are exceptional, 86% recently, 88% overall, and Metacritic is 77%. So it looks cool, I have to say. Now, the next one I can't really sort of give much pricing because of various things, but you get pretty much every single piece of DLC for Project Cars. Now, it's called the Project Cars On Demand Pack. And basically, it gives you like I said, all the DLCs that are currently available on Steam. And if I actually let's click here we go. Hang on. Now, pricing wise, really depends on what you have or haven't got already. Now, if you were to buy them all separately, as you can see here, it would cost you £43.28. But Steam does this clever thing with sort of complete your bundle stuff. If I was to do it that way around, which is exactly the same thing, just minus the actual Project Cars, it would basically be £25.92. So it basically sort of boils down to you're getting about sort of $60-ish of DLC fairly cheaply. So if you're going for the Project Cars in the first place, or got it as part of Humble Monthly and want to sort of add to it, then this is fairly good in terms of that sort of pricing. But beyond that, I can't say much more than that. Now, like I said, there is a second blue tier, which has the game Little Nightmares. Now, this game is not actually out yet. This is actually a pre-order, and you're basically paying full price for this game, because the game itself is actually priced at £16 or about $20. So if you think about it, the blue tier here is $15, and the next one is $20 more. Therefore, you're basically paying full price for the game. What is it? Well, basically, Little Nightmares is a game where you basically, it doesn't really give you much of a sort of explanation of what on earth you are, but you're basically I suppose it calls themselves the janitor, I think, from what I've sort of read. But basically, it's an adventure horror puzzle game, sort of platformer, where you have to sort of try and escape the Maw, which is a vast, mysterious vessel inhabited by corrupted souls looking for their next meal. So it's sort of along the sort of the same veins as Unravel and various other sort of things like that, where you basically have to sort of solve puzzles and try not to get eaten in that sort of theme of everything. It's due for release April 28th, so you've got at least about another two and a bit months. Well, hang on, no, 3 months at the moment to sort of wait until you actually can get your hands on the game. But for all intents and purposes, the graphics look pretty good and it looks fairly interesting. So it's definitely really down to whether or not you think it's worth sort of adding on the sort of the $20 or the sort of £16 just to get your hands on this game. If this, of course, assuming you are interested in the first blue tier. If you're not, then what I'd say is don't bother, just buy whatever tier you're interested in and then pre-order this one, assuming you are interested in pre-ordering it. Right, that is pretty much it in terms of this bundle. I will obviously, like I said, give you my full review of it next week when they actually give out the full bundle. If you didn't already know, you can actually get XCOM UFO Defense for free for a limited amount of time on Humble right now. It's basically a really old game, but if you're interested in it, by all means, interested in freebies, then go for it. Why not? I always say. Of course, Humble Monthly is coming up, and you get XCOM 2 is the sort of the tantalizer. This is due on Friday, so expect my sort of review to take place on Saturday. But as with all things, that's pretty much it in terms of my review. Now, as always, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like and subscribe for more videos from me, and in terms of that is it for me, Cosmo the Coder. Thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you next week for possibly another bundle review and the closure of this one. Till next time, guys, happy gaming. This week we're looking at the Humble Bando? That's not even right. Hey there everybody, it's Cosmo the Coder here, and we're back with another